The way that I see true confidence is authenticity, is being able to know that deep beyond the storm of life, deep beyond and below the storm of life, you believe you, that you trust you, that you perhaps know who you are, at least insofar as how much you've met yourself today, and that you find that that's okay. There's a level of peace within yourself.
Have you ever seen someone living an amazing life and thought to yourself, how'd they get so lucky? If you are not currently living a life that's on your terms, a life by your design, then this podcast series is for you. This is the More Confidence with Luna Guy podcast. And in this special season, I'm going to be interviewing people who are living a life by design, living a life on their terms. And I'm going to find out once and for all if it is just luck or there's something more going on. Let's dive in.
Well, hello, my beautiful beings. You beautiful humans who want to feel more confident, want to feel more connected. The people here listening, tuning in, watching, being here, you're people who are tired of being stuck, tired of playing small, tired of racing around and round and round in your head. Maybe doubting yourself, limiting yourself, holding yourself back. And so this community, this collection, this time that I come here sharing with you live is all about being able to get out of your own way, to be able to get out of your own head, to be able to move beyond the spaces within you that tell you that you're not good enough, that tell you that you're unworthy, that tell you that you can't thrive. There are belief systems, there are thought patterns, there are emotional stamps that are in your body and in your being that keep you stuck where you are. And that might seem a little bit doom and gloom, but the truth of the matter is that there's good news. And the good news is that there's something that you can do about it. You can create change. You can make a difference to this in your life. So I'm coming here live because there is a special question that has come up here, and it is by our beautiful member of this community in the More Confidence Magnetic Confidence community. There is a Magnetic Confidence community on Facebook to which I'm coming here live. And if you are watching any kind of recording, if you are watching it on playback, it's wonderful to have you here. If you aren't already in the Magnetic Confidence community, then I recommend just giving me a follow, going and giving it a quick Google, check it on Facebook, the Magnetic Confidence community, and joining, because I go live. And there's a specific question here that came through from one of our members. And I want to just make sure that she is online here. So I'm just want to touch base and see whether or not Sal is joining us yet. Just wanting to check in because very specifically I had said to Sal, who has posted this very, very important question. And the question here goes, can confidence coexist with unhappiness? Well, there's several questions here. Am I genuinely confident in myself if I feel unhappy, sad, or dissatisfied? I'm not sure if the two can exist separately or if one naturally follows the other. And then it goes on to say, have I been pretending to be happy or pretending I'm confident? Then also, am I overthinking this in an effort to avoid introspection? This one is fairly likely. Clearly, there's some aspects of my life and society in general that make me sad. Does that mean I lack self-confidence and self-love acceptance as well? So I'm coming on here to have this conversation, and I'm just going to check in on my phone to make sure that our delightful Sally is here, to make sure that this question that was being very aptly posed by Sal is actually tuning in here. So I just want to make sure, I'm just checking in on some other platforms here to make sure that Sal has got the notification, to make sure that she's good to go, that she is good to go. Are you here, Sal? Let me know. And in fact, if anybody is watching here live, please do let me know. Let me know that you're here. Let me know that you are connected in. Sal has just let me know that she's in the Magnetic Confidence group, which is fantastic. Just wanting to check if that she's in here live with us. Because here's what happens, right? I want to be able to serve. So if you have questions about confidence, about self-love, about consciousness about yourself, about being able to be your most authentic, true self, then I want to be able to serve you. I want to be able to connect in with you. I want to be able to answer your questions. And so, being part of my community by listening to my podcast, by watching my content, you get to have access to me from that perspective. So, I highly recommend that you ask me questions. If you are here watching live, or if you are in any of my spaces, feel welcome to leave a comment if you're watching live and I will respond. No doubt about that. And if you aren't able to watch live and you are, for whatever reason, watching a recording of this, I recommend you sending me an email. gethappy@lanariagaia.com. Pretty straightforward, right? Gethappy at my full name, lanariagaia.com. You can email me there or just drop me a line on the socials. Let's have a conversation, because it's in these conversations that I can support you and that I can help you to be able to be more confident, more authentic, and answer this question. So I'm going to get to this question because it's a really curious one, right? Can confidence coexist with unhappiness? If you are having conflicting experiences in yourself right now or throughout your journey, are you faking it? You know, are you fake? Is that what's happening? And that's the question that Sal has asked here today. So I am just checking in to just see where Sal is at, wanting to make sure that she is here. I promised Sal that I would come on a time that worked for her. I promised her that I would make sure that she was in the conversation before we actually got started and got stuck into this. So I want to check in. Here she is. Hi, 1 minute. Beautiful, Sally. So lovely to have you here. Welcome. So I'm going to get stuck in and answer your question as best as I possibly can. And please feel welcome to ask for clarity, check in, write more comments here so that I can be able to serve you best, Sal, as I possibly can. Okay. So certainly let me know. Okay, let's get stuck into this question. So the first part of this question is, can confidence coexist with unhappiness? Now, I've gone into some great detail around the rest of this question, I suppose, the rest of the layers of this question, where there's been a bit of overthinking and there's been, am I genuinely confident or am I just fooling myself from that perspective? So Sal, what I want to speak to here to begin with, and feel welcome to pop any comments or questions that you have here. For anybody who's joined us, welcome. Lovely to have you here. Can confidence coexist with unhappiness? Look, this can be a tricky place to navigate, because if you feel like you are confident, you are self-assured, but then you experience self-doubt, then you might experience moments where you aren't feeling so happy and vibrant and vivacious. Let's just get really clear for a second about what true confidence is. True confidence isn't this bravado where nothing ever perturbs you, where you are feeling great about yourself every moment, about everything in every day of your life. It's completely unrealistic. The way that I see true confidence is authenticity, is being able to know that deep beyond the storm of life, deep beyond and below the storm of life, you believe you, that you trust you, that you perhaps know who you are, at least insofar as how much you've met yourself today, and that you find that that's okay. There's a level of peace within yourself. So I know that for some of you, perhaps watching, you're like, oh, that is so far away from my reality. And, I'm here to help you to connect deeper to that place within you. For you, Sal, specifically answering into your question here, I think that a really beautiful way to look at true confidence, or what I might infer as happiness or authenticity, is being able to navigate the storms. So on the surface of the ocean, for example, it can be a beautiful, bright, sunny day in clear, calm waters. There can be storm, there can be turbulence, there can be really big waves, or it can be as flat as glass. There is lots of storm going on. This is the circumstances of our life. These are our emotions. These are the general fluctuations of our energy, of our hormones, of our emotions, of our thoughts. There's the day-to-day bobbing up and down on the surface. But as you go deeper down into the ocean, it gets still. It gets quiet. It gets more peaceful. And perhaps it gets darker, not because it is a dark place in the sense of something negative, but because there is like peace and sleep and stillness. The way that I kind of perceive that is maybe that space in the womb where all is well. It's dark, it's still, it's protected by the outside layer of our mother's womb, of our mother's space, of our mother's body. True confidence isn't about everything in your life going well. It's not about everything feeling great all the time and you never having any kind of emotions. Hear me loud and clear. If you are not having emotions, you might be at the risk of being a sociopath. If you've never experienced emotions before, that is something that is a pathology that lends itself to sociopathy. But if you are feeling and you are connected into the world and you have ups and downs, that is completely considered normal. That is the human condition. We will go up, we will go down. Our emotions and our experiences of life vary. Are you with me, Sal? Leave me a comment and let me know that you're here, you're experiencing what's going on here for me now. Because what I really want you to understand here is these general fluctuations of, am I truly confident or am I faking it? You can maybe feel this way because there is this expectation or perception that confidence is a state of being to which you reach and nothing changes. Yeah. If you are expecting confidence, self-belief to be a space, I'm just checking in with your question here. If you're expecting confidence to mean that you are never unhappy, sad, or dissatisfied, or that you are never going to experience fluctuations, then I think that we're having an unrealistic expectation on ourselves and what confidence will be. Because true confidence is in believing in us, in cultivating a beautiful relationship with ourselves of trust, of love, of connection. It's not about bravado where everything is happy all of the time. It's not what it's about. Real, true, deep confidence is about being able to weather the storm. As you say, Sally, you say, I feel the emotions, but they're not driving the car these days. Yeah, so I want us to recognize that two seemingly opposing ideas can exist at the same time and both be true. You know, you can feel sad about the world. You can want things to be different in your life and still have a sense of, I know who I am. I know who I am, at least at this level. And as you traverse new experiences, as you up level in your life, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a natural experience of uncertainty. If you are starting a new job or a new relationship, if you're putting yourself in a position where you might be vulnerable, where you're maybe the newbie, if you're experiencing any kind of new level of growth in your life, what you're going to experience is a wobble. And this is about weathering the storm. That true confidence is about going, oh, it's okay. There's going to be fear. There's going to be doubt. There's going to be moments where we don't feel 100% stable as we stabilize and get used to the new level that we're experiencing. So you say here, Sally, looking back at the periods of unhappiness, I'm not acknowledging that it's a natural ebb and flow. Oh, amen, Sally. To have these experiences of dissatisfaction, to have these experiences of unhappiness, doesn't mean that we don't know who we are. It doesn't mean that we are not in a state of self-love or self-acceptance. Again, if we are expecting our gold standard of self-love and acceptance is to mean that we never experience any, quote, negative emotions, then I think we're setting ourselves up for failure. Don't you think? Sal, and anyone else who's watching, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Are we having an unrealistic expectation that there comes a point in our self-love, our self-acceptance, our personal transformation journey where we are no longer human? Really, because that's what we're kind of asking of ourselves, right? That we're no longer human, that we will come to a point where we have transcended all human emotions, that nothing outside of us ever impacts us in any meaningful way, right? But that's not what the human experience is all about. The human experience is about experiencing sensations, having ups and downs. Look at nature teaches us everything. There is light and dark. right? There is night and day. There is a time for sleep and a time for being awake. There is a time for eating and a time for digestion. So let's not assume that states of unhappiness or dissatisfaction means that we are doing something wrong. How's this landing for you, Sal? Because I want to really honor the questions that you've asked here. Can confidence coexist with unhappiness? 100%. It can and it does. Because unhappiness it can very much be on the surface level, circumstances, right? It can be a reaction to the environment, unhappiness. It's a reaction to the circumstances of our lives. Whereas confidence, from a really deep level, in the way in which I teach it in terms of authenticity, in terms of real happiness, goes beyond that. You can have real sustainable happiness that's deep down within that ocean example and still have moments where things are crap, where you're in a bad mood, where it's sucking, right? The thing is that life is going to suck from time to time. You ask this question here, Sal, am I genuinely confident in myself if I feel unhappy, sad, or dissatisfied? And I can't know whether or not you are genuinely confident in yourself. But what I do know is that feeling unhappy, sad, or dissatisfied is not correlated to your level of self-acceptance, right? The way that we might want to discern as to whether or not we are feeling confident, if we are self-assured, is what's our relationship like with ourselves? How connected are we to our truth? Are we living our life based on fear, reactions? Are we living our life based on that small part of ourselves, the ego? If you've done any of my work, I talk about the ego and I talk about that's our unconscious patterning and programming. If we are living from a state of lack and fear, then we are not living in an authentic self. And there's nothing, quote, wrong with that. It is just a matter of practice. Practicing turning down the volume while acknowledging our fear, while turning up our faith, while turning up our authenticity. That's what that really comes down to. And Sal says definitely placing unrealistic expectations that nothing can bring me down because I'm super confident. I can feel sad and that's normal. Yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing this to light, Sal. That's exactly right. If there's anybody that's teaching you that there's some level to which you will be completely bulletproof from outside circumstances, then even if that's me ever saying that, I encourage you to question that. I really do, because there will be times where you reach a certain level and you do feel bulletproof and you're like, yeah, man, nothing's getting at me. Nothing's doing nothing. Like I'm feeling good consistently. You might get to a point in your confidence journey and your self-love and acceptance journey where you feel as though you are a bit superwoman and bulletproof. As you expand further and you expand your comfort zone as to what you think is possible, your fear is going to pipe up again. And that's not a sign that you have lost confidence or that you aren't doing the work properly. What that is an indication of is that you're growing. As you grow into the next evolution of yourself, you're going to be tested. You are going to be challenged, because if it doesn't challenge us, it doesn't change us. So as you are navigating maybe sadness or dissatisfaction, or as you are navigating the next layer of growth that you might be experiencing, recognize that it's pretty likely that there's going to be some icky feelings that come with that. And they are the next layers of the onion, so to speak, to be revealed so that you might heal them. That's all that's happening here. That each layer of emotions that come up is not so that we get to a point where we don't have emotions anymore. It's so that we get more skilled at learning how to deal with those emotions and what they have to tell us and what they are teaching us. And can we honor the process of emotions that come to the surface? By the way, if you are here and you're watching live and you have questions for me outside of this question that Sal has posed, please feel welcome, including you, Sal, to pop it in the comments section. Pop it in the comments so that I can answer your questions. If what I'm talking about here makes you go, hang on a second, what did you mean by what you said back then? I'm going to go back and I will clarify for you. including those who are watching the recording as well. So if you are watching recording in whatever way you're watching this, I really encourage you to leave a comment, message me, email me, gethappy@lunariagaia.com, and I will answer your questions. I'll likely go live in some way, shape, or form if it's after the recording, and I'll answer it for you. Sal says here, I think maybe acknowledging that I'm unhappy takes a level of self-confidence or acceptance. Oh, I love this, Sal. Don't you reckon? Don't you reckon there's a level of acceptance to go, I am fallible. I am whole in my experiences of being a human. It gives you another opportunity. As I was talking to before, each new layer that you experience, right? Each layer of growth that you access will require you to have bigger tests. And what that comes with those bigger tests is that you will experience more lessons, you will experience more learnings, you will get the opportunity to deepen the relationship that you have with yourself at each new level. I kind of like to see it as a video game. So I don't know what video games are like these days, but I'm going to just speak to my 40-year-old self who used to play video games like Donkey Kong. And not Donkey Kong in terms of like, well, this actually applies. In Donkey Kong, in any kind of video game back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, and if you've ever watched anybody play a video game like this, there are levels. And you go through each level and you will be challenged in those levels as per the skill set to the level, right? And you will have to learn how to get skilled enough to conquer that level. And generally at each new level, it goes up and up and up and up until you fight some kind of big boss, right? There's one big obstacle that you need to overcome at each layer of the world, right? So you've gone through all the levels, you overcome all the little bosses at there, and then you get to the big boss at the end that you need to overcome. And once you have hit every single level and overcome that big boss, it might take you a long time. It certainly did for me to be able to get to the point where I could overcome that big boss in that computer game. Guess what happens then? You just start in the next map. You just start in the next level, the next layer, and you do the same thing over again. Except you bring all the skills from the first world that you've experienced. Every single level that you've overcome and the big boss at the end, now you're more skilled moving into the next layers. But the next layers are going to be challenging. And that continues your growth, that continues your expansion. You're going to bring everything that you learned from the first levels and the first big boss into the second layer. And that second layer, you're going to do the same thing. You will go into, you're like, wow, this is hard, man. You're going to really recognize that it's hard at this new level. But you've got some mad skills that you can bring with you. And when you persist and you stay, you will learn and you will grow. And you will make it through the next layer of the video game. You'll go through each level, you'll hit the next big boss, and guess what? A whole new layer will open up for you. Look, I know that for some of you, I think that we can feel overwhelmed by that. Be like, oh man, don't we just get to the point where we just get to rest? And the reality is that we can rest at any point in time. And in fact, rest is an important and integral part of this journey. Integrating and, being okay at a certain level and just hanging out there. It's okay to just go back to the levels that you have already played and get better at them. You don't have to continually be going on to the next level at lightning speed. You can go, you know what, I'm going to sit here at this level for a little while and I'm going to just center myself into this level. I'm just going to stay at this level for a little while until I get super comfortable here, and then I'm ready to stretch myself again. You've said here, Sally, I think because I haven't spiraled, I'm confused. I've confused myself and opened up an opportunity to overthink the emotions and to an extent avoid the base of the emotion, which is fear in my instance. Yeah, I love this. You haven't spiraled. So because there doesn't seem to be any obvious reason why you're feeling dissatisfied, your mind is now making it up. Does that sound pretty accurate? Your mind is now making it up, Sal. Yeah. Here's what we got to understand is that if we keep it really simple, if I bring it as simplistic as I possibly could, there are two parts of us, two major parts of us. There is our small, immature, unconscious self, to which I call the ego. And then there is our higher self, our soul, our biggest part of us, our most mature self. And generally, as we come into human form, as our ego grows, right, as our unconsciousness of our conditioning and programming, that becomes the basis of how we live our life. And that unconscious part of us is all about survival. And it is rooted in fear. And that fear wants to keep us safe and wants to keep us staying at this level. That's what fear does. That's what fear does in our unconscious mind. That's what it does in this layer of immaturity. What I mean by immaturity, less like nah, 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 and more just like a, unmatured thing, something that has not been raised yet to full adulthood. I believe that our job is to be able to experience the fearful part of ourselves, the unconscious part of ourselves, the ego part of ourselves through our higher self and raise it. And how do we do that? It's about recognizing, as you've said here, Sally, like you're like, yes, fear, in your case, in this instant, is taking over. And for most of us, it does that. That's what fear does. Fear wants us to stay safe and to stay small where we are. It doesn't want us to move to the next level. So very often it will create stories as to what's wrong. Remember, the mind is wired to keep you safe, not to make you happy. And it will look for what is wrong. That's the very nature of the mind. The very nature of the mind is to look for what is wrong. So if you reach a place or some kind of level in your life to which everything feels pretty good, your mind is likely to kick in to find out what is wrong. Yeah, Sally says, pow, I'm coming to the end of my degree. I'm leveling up and that scares me, doing something with my education and taking the next step. Exactly, Sal. So what you're experiencing here, and I think this is worth highlighting, for you, Sal, and you've been in my containers and you've done work with me, officially, I suppose, so to speak. So you've experienced the power of the containers and the work that's there. You said to me just before, because you haven't spiraled. You haven't spiraled, right? So the old negative way of you falling down into a hole, you understand that. But what is happening here for you is that you're expanding. So fear is showing its head as a result of expansion. You're coming into the next level, you're coming into the next iteration, and your ego's like slamming the brakes on, saying, no, I don't want to grow up. I don't want to have to do something with this education. I feel really comfortable in my degree for the last however many years, focusing on the study. You've been comfortable here, and the ego wants to stay comfortable. But your soul, your higher self, your truest happiness, your true confidence wants expansion, it wants exploration, it wants to discover. What a juicy question, Sal. And thank you so much for bringing it to this conversation. And I'm curious if you have any more questions. Anybody here watching live? I see there's a few of you online at the moment. So if you do have questions, anything to do with self-acceptance, around self-love, personal transformation, around our mindset, feel welcome to leave me a comment, including you, Sal. I'm going to hang out here until I've answered the questions effectively. If there are questions here and I can help, then I'm going to. For you, Sal, have I answered your question? I'm going to go back and read it to you again. Can confidence coexist with unhappiness? Am I genuinely confident in myself if I feel unhappy, sad, or dissatisfied? I'm not sure if the two can exist separately or if one naturally follows the other, sorry. Have I been pretending to be happy or pretending I'm confident? Am I overthinking in an effort to avoid introspection? This one is fairly likely. I reckon you probably answered it yourself in that, Sal. And then you said, clearly there's some aspects of my life and society in general that makes me sad. Does that mean I lack self-confidence and self-love or acceptance as well? And really the big conclusion to this is that let's not conflate confidence with having no, quote, negative emotions or experiences, because having those experiences is just part of life. It's just part of the deal. And the mind especially is never going to be satisfied. Yeah, and if you want more details around that, ask me questions, but also just read my second book, Get Happy and Free, because I talk about the fact that the mind is never satisfied. That part of us won't ever be satisfied. So we need to go beyond that part of us And recognize that that's what it does. It's fine. The mind's always going to find something wrong. But in our hearts of hearts, true confidence, true authenticity, true happiness lies well beyond the shenanigans of the immature mind. I want ice cream. Here's the perfect example to wrap up today's conversation. You know, if anybody here has ever had kids or experienced kids or watched any kind of kids online, you will see how many times how many times does a child chuck a tantrum because the sun's too loud. And you're like, honey, I can't turn the sun down. So you're like, okay, you make the room dark. Oh, it's too dark. Well, what's wrong? Well, the dark is too light. How many times has a child chucked a nonsensical tantrum that there is nothing to be able to satisfy it? It doesn't make any sense. There is no actual tangible problem that you can solve for that tantrum that toddler is chucking. Our minds do exactly the same thing. It tries to figure out, it's trying to create a problem to be able to keep us safe where it is because it doesn't feel certain enough. So for you, Sal, create some more certainty for yourself. Remind yourself that you are okay no matter what happens. Be okay with the fact that you are coming to the end of your degree and things are changing. Cultivate certainty within yourself and lead yourself, parent yourself, because your little mind is wanting to have a chaos and overthink things. But at the end of the day, all is well. So Sal says, I'm very happy with your answer. Thank you. The growth I've achieved makes the fear appear slightly different, and I've been idealistic about happiness. Beautiful. And unrealistic about it as well. That happiness is a state to which you never feel any other emotions. It's just not true. Happiness is a place. Happiness is a place within you. It's a frequency within you. Up the top, chaos, differing circumstances, life goes up and down, emotions go up and down. And yeah, we might want to learn how to regulate those emotions. That's helpful. But the real depth of our soul is where that happiness is. And you've said, quote, I'm sad, so I must be lacking confidence. So there's no point in finishing my degree and then using it, asking my boss for more money because I've got qualifications now. There it is. Sounds like you, Sal, have just had a really big awakening moment where you've recognized that fear has been convincing you that you're unhappy, convincing you that you aren't confident, because if you finish your degree, you're going to have to step up. And your mind, which is your immature self, your unconscious self, the one run by fear, doesn't want you to do that. So it's keeping you trapped in overthinking rather than getting to the bottom of the meaning that's actually going on for you right now is that you're shit scared to finish your degree. Ask your boss for more money because you might be rejected. Look at that. So there's the emotions. You might fail. You might fall. Now you're going to have to take responsibility. Bingo, Sally says. Absolutely gorgeous. You see, when we have a look at this, everybody, if you're watching this and observing about what's happened here with the conversation with Sal, is that what you're going to discover is that your mind is very tricky at wanting to keep you safe. And it will find any which way for you to avoid difficult experiences, even if that means creating false difficult experiences. But at the core center of anything of your mind holding you back, self-sabotage, procrastination, overthinking, is going to be some kind of fear response to an emotion or experience that you don't want to feel. And it's about keeping us safe. So in Sal's experience here, you've created a story, your mind's created a story that you're sad, which means you lack confidence, which means you have to go do more work, which means that you probably shouldn't bother to finish your degree because then you won't have to face what the next layer is. And what I'm here to tell you is it's okay. You'll be all right. Reassure yourself. Come back to building a really strong relationship with you and realize that it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be scared. We all feel afraid when we are growing. There's no doubt about that, myself included. And again, if there's anybody, any teacher or guide that you are following who's telling you that they aren't afraid, I would be questioning that. Because I believe that when we are growing, as we are growing, we will reach points to which we will be a little bit scared or a lot freaking scared. And it's not about whether or not we're scared. It's not about whether or not we have the emotions or we're having the reaction. It's about how do we respond to those things. If we are triggered, how do we respond? If we are fearful, how do we respond? If we are experiencing, overthinking, how do we respond? And the more skillful we are in our response to these things, the more at peace we're going to be, the more that layer of confidence deep down is going to really be distilled and instilled within us. It's fabulous. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to connect. I'd love to hear anyone's thoughts. Sal, I feel like, I've asked you, did I answer the question the way, have I answered the question for you? I believe the answer is yes. If anybody does have any questions, leave your comments now. Otherwise, I'm going to shoot off and call that a wrap for today's conversation. It's always a joy to be here. And if you are in my Magnetic Confidence community, free community on Facebook, please feel welcome to ask me questions. And, when I can, I will jump on live just like I have done here for Sal and answer your questions. And what I did here for Sal was actually coordinated time to which she would be on so that you can get the value from this conversation. So big thank you for Sally for asking this question. Thank you for, if you are watching this as a recording within the group or you're watching it in some other platform, reach out, connect with me if you have questions. I'm here to help you to flourish in your human life as best as I possibly can and to awaken the parts of you that are lying dormant right now and to maybe raise the parts of you that are a little bit immature, because it's true for all of us, myself included. Trudy, thanks for being here. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Good afternoon, my gorgeous humans. I will see you next time I'm looking at you. And, here's to you being your truest, most authentic self. Yeah, God bless. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the More Confidence with Luna Gaia podcast. I hope you feel more confident, more self-assured, and ready to go tackle the world's problems and maybe kick ass in some of your dreams. If you haven't already, I would love for you to like and subscribe, follow, and maybe leave a review so that other people know how to find this awesome podcast too. If you're wanting to sink your teeth into something even more juicy, my #1 best-selling book, Perfectly Imperfect, Your Complete Guide to Loving Yourself and Loving Your Body, is now available on all good bookstore sites, both in print, digital, and I narrated it for Audible as well. If you think that coaching or maybe one of my courses is for you, why not head to www.moreconfidence.com.au and get in touch and see if we can talk. And of course, you can find me all across the social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, which is where you're probably listening now, or maybe even here on the podcast platform. Sending you big love and wishing you a beautiful day.